Welcome, guys, to podcast number 47 of Our Ketogenic Life.
Welcome.
Today, we're going to take a little detour as far as our subject is concerned. Not just talking about food you should eat, whether you should be fasting, what kind of fasting you should have, but actually some of the mental approach that's really important to make a long-lasting change.
Mm-hmm. So it definitely ties into ketogenic.
Absolutely.
But it really focuses on a lot of things.
Yeah, you can apply this to a lot of things, but with where we're at, we, as far as this podcast is concerned and the things that we do, right now we're focused on keto and your health and things. Now we are getting ready to launch another podcast that's going to involve a little bit more of what we do as far as our faith and our family.
Yeah, because keto is not all we are. I mean, it's
going to be called Our Ever-Loving Life, and it's going to be faith, family, fitness, and finance. And
which Our Ever-Loving Life is really how we started years ago with we started a blog, but it just, life happens and we just get too busy and, it just kind of got put on the back burner. And then ketogenic, our fitness part just kind of naturally came out with people asking us questions.
Because that's what we do at the clinic every day.
And just, that's how we try to eat and live our life, so.
But we're going to circle around on a different podcast. And we'll let you know so you can check out that as well. Yeah. But today we're going to talk about James Prochaska. He has a theory as far as the 5 steps you go through when you're making a decision. And we're going to go through these, and at the very end, for those that's going to stay to the end, we're going to give you some tips as far as how you can apply these steps and some of the things you need to have to change your patterns.
Because this is just very important overall. Like I said, not just with your weight loss, how you're eating, your health, but overall in life, you can either be on the bench watching things happen, or you can be part of the game and actually play and do your best. But you've got to have that change of mindset. Right. So let's start then.
Well, I thought about, if you think about this as an example to go through, I wrote this down, I didn't tell you.
Oh, sorry.
Decision making. Relating this to preparing for surgery. So we can do it compared to eating, but we also, I want, as we go through this, remind me compared to surgery.
Okay.
And that way you can kind of understand some of the steps that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
All right. Number
I just
one.
threw that one on me.
I know.
Okay.
So, number 1.
Pre-contemplation. So that's before you even...
You don't even know there's a problem.
No.
So, it's not necessary you're not wanting to do something. You don't even realize there's a problem. And there's a lot of people that their health, they don't realize there's a problem. They don't get blood work. They don't see the things that's showing some markers. If you're thinking about, if you relate this to surgery, if you don't think there's a problem, you ain't going to be thinking about having no surgery, right?
That's not very well spoken English, but that's okay.
So,
well, I was even thinking, because before we talked about 9-year-old little girl that has, eats fairly good. And she doesn't know there's a problem, but find out there's fatty liver. So, she doesn't eat horrible, but still eats the sugar and the bread and the candy and typical food.
And if you're listening to us during this whole 5 steps, you're probably going to think about somebody when we're talking about these. Somebody in this stage, you may be gung-ho about doing keto, about getting healthy, and then you talk to somebody and they have no clue. They don't want to make a change, and you look at them like they're unmotivated. But they really just don't see there's a problem. They may be overweight. They may be on medication. But
they may even have underlying health problems they don't even know about yet. Or they may say, well, my joints ache and my stomach hurts and I have problems here and here, have problems sleeping. You can think, okay, that's your eating and your exercise and your not taking care of yourself. Most people think that's just a part of getting older.
So, again, if you're trying to really preach at them and they're in this stage, you're not going to get
We can even think of that as spiritual.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, like I said, people just have if their eyes have not been opened to what, their state that they're in, their need, then like I said, you just have to, but that's why we talk to people.
Yeah, that's what we're about.
Yeah.
Step number 2.
Contemplation.
Now you're aware of the problem.
Right.
Let's say that you go to your provider's office and they get blood work and your sugar's up a little bit. Now you may think there was nothing wrong, but now there's something going on here.
Past 20 years of eating donuts maybe caught up with me.
Right. And there's really no commitment in making a change. And I get this a lot at the clinic as far as telling people something. And, they are, I tell them, I know there's a problem. They know there's a problem because I tell them.
Right.
But there's no change. And if they're not if they're not committed to a change or anything like that, there's really not much you can do.
Right.
You have to, like Danae talked about with the 9-year-old girl, there's awareness now that this little girl has fatty liver. And now there has to be some commitment to change, not only on her part, but her parents' part and everything else.
Yeah.
So, right here is where I think a lot of people can be influenced, either positive or negative. So if you have family members that they become aware of a problem, they have to kind of stew on this for a little while, most people, before they actually make the change.
Right, yeah.
So, this would be a great time for you to be able to be helpful. Now, in our membership, at this point, a lot of people don't come to us here.
Right.
They're aware of the problem, but they're not really wanting to make a change.
Right, yeah.
And we can't force them to make those changes.
Right, yeah.
Step number 3.
Preparation.
They're planning on taking some action.
I think, okay, I might look into this membership, or I might look into doing that keto, or they don't really know what they're going to do, but they're thinking, okay, I know now that I'm aware that there could be a need for me to change, health reason, or just, feeling bad, or knowing that they need to lose some weight, their blood sugar, whatever it may be.
And they're starting to realize that behavioral change is possible.
Right.
And a lot of people will kind of skip through this step as far as being prepared. And from what we've read, if you skip this step as far as getting prepared and you start looking to make some changes, and we're going to talk about those changes, but something like if you have a bad habit of eating the wrong kinds of food,
eating ice cream every night,
if you don't start substituting something good for the bad, then you're going to fail. Because a lot of times what people will do, they may, let's just take smoking for instance in this part. They may want to quit smoking, and they quit smoking, but then they start overeating. So they're really changing one thing for another.
Right.
So if you don't really start planning and you start thinking about this kind of thing, this is where you kind of fail, and this is why a lot of people do things over and over again, because they don't plan and they fail at what they try to do.
Right. And is this what you think the phase of? Because a lot of people say, like with us or whatever, they'll say, I just don't have that much willpower. I do good for a week, and then I just give in.
Yeah, they're probably in between stage 2 and 3.
Yeah.
They know there's a problem, but yet they're not taking action. But really having a coach.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody
to get them through that, to realize you have to, because if they just think I'm going to get through it and do without that, like try to just get rid of that bad habit, or get rid of that bad, not eating ice cream, without replacing it with something, doing something else. There's only so long you can not give in. If you're, if you watch TV every night, a show, you used to eat ice cream with it.
Right.
Now you still watch that show, but you don't eat the ice cream.
Right.
You can do great for that motivation there for.
You keep willing yourself.
Yes,
I'll do it again. I'll do it again,
and then finally it's going to like just your body and just your habits, your mental. It just that takes over, and it's like. Then you find yourself wanting ice cream. And then you think, well, I've done really good. I've lost, a little bit of weight. I can have ice cream one night because I've done so good.
Right.
Then, okay, usually that one night, does not stick with one night, usually.
Mm-hmm.
It might turn into 2, or you might do good then again for another few days.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, hey, I didn't get any more weight after eating that one night of ice cream. Why don't I go back and eat some more? I didn't do. So you're setting yourself up for failure because you did not truly prepare for a change.
Right.
You didn't truly prepare and get that good habit, that good behavior, like not sitting on the same couch every night. So we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, not just remove things, but you got to put something in. We've talked so many times, like people want to have like keto food, or they have low fat food and things. They take out the fat, but they put in the bad things. So it's not necessarily, it's not like a win-win. It's like almost like a lose-lose because you're not preparing yourself.
Yeah.
Step number 4.
Gotta have action.
Yes, you have. This is when you start seeing some changes physically, and new behaviors are forming, and you're modifying the behavior you had before, no matter what it was, and you're able to achieve some results. But the thing about this, and this is where a lot of people, I think, don't understand, is with action, it takes time and it takes energy.
Right.
If you are moving in one direction and you keep going in this direction, it's easier to keep going in that direction. But to make a change, you have to put some time into it. Like we talked about just a minute ago, you have to prepare for things.
Right.
You have to get yourself ready. You have to have like some mental energy to overcome some of these things. It can't just be willpower. A lot of things that we talk about, having a group is much better than having willpower.
Right.
Because that group can constantly motivate you to help you get the results that you want.
Yes.
And talking, spiritually, going to church, having that brothers and sisters in Christ can really help.
Hold you accountable.
Times where you're down or things are happening, they're there to lift you up. And they're there to, enjoy the happy moments as well.
Right.
So it's not all bad things, it's good things as well.
And they're not going to just tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
If a true, brother and sister in Christ, just like, somebody in your accountability group, a coach, for us, we're going to say, we're not going to beat you up because you had ice cream one night. But if you go back on a path of, hey, you're not posting, you are not, you're not having any accountability, you're not doing Zoom conferences, you're not, we can only do so much, but we're going to tell you, this is what you need to do. We're not going to say, we're going to beat you up for having a bad meal, or having something like that, but we're going to say, okay, you got to get back on track. You can't just keep doing it. You've got to stop, modify your behavior, get back.
Make some changes. And step number 5. Maintenance. Again, it takes work. It takes work until it becomes just who you are. When Danae just talked about, the work is going to be there to help prevent something like, I've been good so I can blank.
Right, yeah.
That's the maintenance stage. You get through it, you've made some changes and things like that, but you have to consistently work at this because, one, it's worth it.
Right.
If you're working for something, more than likely it's worth it. If you're not working for something, it's usually not.
Right.
Use an example of kids going to school. If you don't go and get, education, don't work at it, you're probably not going to get as good as a job, overall. There's always exceptions.
And I like the saying, direction, not intention, determines destination.
Right.
So you've got to be headed in a direction. It doesn't matter how well intended that you plan on doing. It doesn't matter if you intend on eating healthy. It doesn't matter if you intend on exercising, if you intend on posting, if it doesn't matter what you intend on doing.
Right.
It's that direction to make the motivation to actually step out and go and make that decision to do it. That's where you're going to get the destination. You're not ever going to get anywhere by just intending to go.
Right.
You have to actually go.
And there's different people who have different thoughts as far as how long does it take to make a habit, 21 days, 3 months, whatever it may be. I think it's a little bit different for everybody
I think so too.
because it's different as far as what you're talking about as well. But, this stage here, until it really becomes who you are, it could be 3 months, it could be a year.
Right.
And, that's where, having that ongoing support and accountability really does help, because it can help prevent you from having relapses.
Right.
And that support system can come different ways. We have our own support system between ourselves.
Right.
So many times you made this comment the other night. You said something like, whenever you want to do bad, I'm doing good.
Right.
And whenever you're doing bad, I want to do good.
Right.
And it's good to have that balance there to, not beat ourselves up.
Right.
To understand that we can do things.
Right.
But having that balance of not going off the deep end and doing it for a long period of time.
Right, yeah.
So just realize that these changes, especially, if you're 30, 40, 50 years old plus, it's going to take some changes. Right. It's going to take some time.
Yeah. Remember, progress over perfection.
Progress over perfection.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great term. It really is. You came up with that last time.
I don't know. I didn't come up with it. I'm sure somebody else did.
Now, here are to change a pattern behavior. I want you to think about these 3 things, and then we'll give you some pointers at the very end. What we have to understand is, usually when we're talking, a lot of times we're talking about food. There's not just the physical pattern of eating the food, there's an emotional pattern behind it.
Right.
And a lot of times finding your why, which we'll talk about in a minute, really does help, because it helps get you over these things. But I'm going to talk about 3 different things today, right now, that can help change your physical pattern, which will lead to changing your emotional pattern. Okay? So one is physiology. Changing your physical state. We talked about before on air. If you're used to going to a certain chair and eating that ice cream right after dinner, watching TV, sitting in a different chair. It's amazing. We're the only ones in the house. But we go exactly to the same couch every time.
Yeah.
And if you make some changes, and I know maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, that's not going to help. Try it.
Right.
Go in a different room.
Right.
Go sit down somewhere different.
Go for a walk.
Yeah. And the other thing that we have listed here is prayer.
Right.
Change that. Your position, where you're at. And you talk about this a lot. I put this in there for you, is your breathing. Breathing is a lot.
Yeah.
We do.
It's amazing that people don't realize that they don't breathe well.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing we could do on oxygen, get to your blood, and everything like that. But I know, like, when I have my quiet time, we do try to do 10 minutes of quiet time just with Jesus, thanking Him. My breathing changes. It really does. And if you look at the physiology behind the breathing, as far as the calmness before you eat, there's so many different things on here. But just real quick with that, you change your digestive enzymes, the way they're released. You go from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic tone, and it does things differently in your digestive system. So just changing it, taking the time before you eat.
And I want to challenge people, we won't get into breathing, but challenge people, close your mouth and breathe through your nose. And I know sometimes with allergies, or people say you can't. I know. Well, it really changes how, the breath, the oxygen you're getting, the it's a conscience. Some people even say, and I've not done this much research, for children especially, it can change even your face. Just the structure of being a mouth breather versus a nose breather. And it really, you just focus on sitting still, close your mouth, and breathing in.
Right.
Some people even tape their mouth at night to be a nose breather.
I'd have to do it too.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Number 2, your language. The language you speak to yourself. You can't keep saying, I'm always going to be overweight. Right. Just use that as an example.
Or I'm never going to quit craving sugar. I'm never going to...
Or I'm always going to have to take diabetes medicine.
Right. Yeah.
And, you might, I don't know. Yeah. But I'm saying there's a lot of things that we tell ourselves that we make it our own truth. And it's really not the truth. It's just a story that you tell yourself in your head. And a lot of that goes back to, I think, over years, as far as like, things that maybe happened to you, things people have said to you, and you accepted that as truth. And it doesn't have to be that way. And again, these are some changes that it takes some time to really make these changes. Number 3 is your focus and belief. You know, if you say, I can never lose weight and keep it off, you know, where you go, where you focus is where you go. You know, no matter...
Direction, not intention, determines destination.
Right. So... You
got to focus and get that direction.
Yeah. You have to focus on what are you wanting. You know, we can, again, a lot of these things we can take in many different directions, but spiritually, you know, if your focus is on Jesus, then that's the direction you're going to go. If you go to church on Christmas and Easter, your focus is probably not.
Nope, you're a creaster. Yeah.
So, but, you know, with your diet, you know, with your sleep, with everything that we have here is where you focus at. And sometimes it is, you know, we lose focus too, but it's nice to be, for us to be accountable to everybody that's listening to us and our members and our people who we coach. You know, I had a lady today, you know, was talking about diabetes and things like that with her. And she says, why? And I said something, and she says, well, I guess you never have to worry about diabetes.
Right.
Oh, if they only knew.
Right.
If they only knew my family history. Yes, I have to worry about that.
Right.
I could easily, I think, be a diabetic. I could easily be 50 pounds overweight. I could easily do that. But that's not where my focus is. My focus is this, and being as healthy as I can, you know, while I'm here on earth.
Right.
So it's really important where you put your focus, and again, that's the direction you're going to go. So how many we have here? 5 things. 5 things we're going to talk about that can help you make these changes. One is journaling. Now, journaling is a couple different things. You could journal what you're eating. You could journal your macros. You could also journal how you're feeling. You know, what are you thinking about? And you know, and you're going to see a pattern. You know, when you break over, there's certain things that you start thinking about, and if you can kind of correct those, then you can change direction with that. And
something like if you are writing down, like I like to physically write down too. But if I write it down like how, like say today, I did not sleep well last night. And so this morning, even though I still got up, 6 and walked, but I just didn't feel real well. And so, if I realized, I wrote that down, that I did not sleep well last night. So then, what I've eaten, what I've drank today, I've written all that down, what I exercised, what I did, and then, it's amazing that maybe in 2 or 3 days, what I ate today, I may see what I've eaten, or what I ate 2 or 3 days ago. Like, did I have extra cheese on something?
Right.
Or did I have, something, you can kind of start seeing your pattern, like, I don't sleep real well. Well, let me go back and see what I do. Or, maybe I drank caffeine late or something like that. But journaling does, how you feel, what you've been doing the last few days, it's amazing how it can kind of help you see a pattern that can help you change direction when you are aware of what you're doing.
Right. If you're not aware of it, you're not going to change it.
Right.
Again, that goes back to our first step, is the pre-contemplation. You don't realize it, you're not going to change.
Right.
So other ways that you can help realize that you need to change is planning ahead. With the journaling, plan ahead the next day. What do you plan on doing the next day? What are you going to eat? Are you going to exercise? Go ahead and write it down. These are the things you're going to do. Plan ahead. Are you going to go out to eat, or is there going to be a family gathering? Are you planning ahead? We've had some podcasts, I think, before talking about around holidays, about what you can do to prepare for holidays. Eat before you go. You could take your own side dishes. Thanksgiving, instead of eating mashed potatoes, you can get cauliflower, whatever it may be. But you're planning ahead. And that's how you're going to start making these changes, because it's going to become who you are.
And I like to go ahead in the morning. I like to write down like how many, like if I'm going to do sit-ups, or if I'm going to do arm workout, if I'm going to do, I like to go ahead and put how many reps, how many things I'm doing, and then how many I'd like to do.
Right.
And then I do it in like short things, like I'll put like, I don't know, like squats. Like I'll put times 50 times 50 times 50. Well, I may not always get all those, but it makes me want to do the more to mark off, because if I leave one not marked off, I really want to go back and do it if all possible. So. It helps me to
It does.
To write it down what I plan on doing.
Mm-hmm. So. If it's like in the medical field, if it's not written down, it didn't happen.
Right.
It doesn't matter what. If you didn't write it in the chart, it doesn't happen. It didn't matter. The insurance
I don't know. It's like using my my Fitbit is tore up. And so I ordered another one because I don't know if it's the charger. Right. But anyway, so it's almost like why even walk? It's not being recorded, so why even do it?
You don't get
Which
the
I am
reward.
doing it. I know,
you don't get the reward.
So, but I know I'm
and
doing it.
And it's a personal reward. It's
right.
It's nothing monetary. It's nothing, but it's just a personal satisfaction. Yeah. Buy a new Fitbit.
Okay.
Number 3, posting. And this is kind of like from our membership. The people who are posting in our membership are doing really, really well.
Yes.
And, there's some that post on a regular basis, and some we don't see much at all. We hear from them every now and then. Mm-hmm. But posting, and that goes back to being accountable.
Right.
We have people who post who just, didn't do very good that day.
Right.
But they get encouragement and they go back on track.
Right.
And it's part of the maintenance. It's part about developing those habits so that it becomes just who you are.
Right.
Number 4 is reading labels. We've talked about that many, many times before. You have to read labels. You have to know what's going in your body. Mm-hmm. If you do not know that, you know it now.
Right.
You cannot, plead innocence or
ignorance is bliss. Yeah, ignorance
it
is not
work.
bliss.
It doesn't work. If you don't know it, then don't eat it.
No.
And finally, finding your why. That is a big reason why people have do make some changes. And the why can be so many different things. It could be a relationship with somebody, like if you have kids or grandkids, being able to play with them, having the energy to do so. It may be getting off medication. It may be weight loss. Mm-hmm. But then you have to think, why do you want to lose weight?
Right.
What's the emotional state behind that? And I don't think there's really a wrong reason. With me, I've always wanted to have 6-pack abs, but if you read my book, that's been in there for 3 years, and I'm still working on it. But it's just something you chase.
Right. And for us to want to, we are as Christians, our body is the temple of the Lord. Mm-hmm. So you just like you wouldn't want to junk up, church.
Right.
Why would we want to do something to the temple? Knowingly. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes, like I said beforehand, you don't really know. Mm-hmm. But if you know what the junk is doing to your body, mm-hmm. Then you're not able to be the hands and feet of Jesus because you're not able to go anywhere.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to be his hands and feet when you aren't physically able mm-hmm. to do anything for anybody.
If you don't feel good.
Yeah, if you don't feel good. And not that this is a, miracle of anything, mm-hmm. We just do it because, of course, there's days that you don't feel good. There's days that you're going to, maybe come down with something or, but to the best of our ability, mm-hmm. we want to do all that we can, knowing what we're taking in, what we're doing to our bodies to take care of the mm-hmm. temple so that we can mm-hmm. serve the Lord in every way that we can and feel like doing it.
And another one of our whys was when we are going to be, 20 years from now, when we're 65 to 75, 85, whatever it may be, we want to be able to do the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And if we don't take care of ourselves now, we're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
All right. Hopefully that's helped you guys.
Yep.
Our verse today.
Yes, our verse. Let me get this over here. Our verse is from Proverbs 15:22, and this is one of Kevin's favorite.
Yes, it is. It really is.
So without counsel, plans fail. But with many advisors, they succeed.
Mm-hmm. One, I think you have to have the right advisor, which is Jesus. You have to have that.
Yeah.
But then I think you have to have people in your life that are, like you mentioned before, that are willing to tell you the truth.
Right. And
that are willing to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And, those are your true friends.
Yeah.
They're willing to help you out. Mm-hmm. And, when it talks about counsel, without counsel, I mean, the more people, especially if you're looking for somebody who is a little bit further down the road mm-hmm. than you are, getting counsel from them can really eliminate a lot of heartache for you.
Right.
you don't want to take advantage of their heartache, but that's basically what's happening. Is. And the other thing is, you know, with Paul and Timothy, everybody needs Paul and everybody needs a Timothy.
Right.
You know, in Scripture, you need somebody that is further down the road who is helping you along, and then you also need a Timothy, somebody who you can help bring along.
And you need to be, you know, as you know, helping hold each other accountable. Be honest with each other, because love is to be truly loving someone is being honest with them. So, you know, telling, you know, our true struggles, being honest that, hey, we had, you know, this and then I didn't feel good, or I didn't sleep good, or if I had, you know, that, you know, we went off and we went here. You know, we don't want to be someone who is fake and dishonest and say that we never, you know, have something that we, you know, shouldn't have. Because we tell you, it makes us feel bad, or, you know, we hold each other accountable for that. But we're there to be truthful and honest with you, and through our mistakes, maybe you won't make those mistakes, and through our successes, we can encourage you to have success. So
hopefully that's helped.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, guys. Remember, be fit and be faithful.